something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the f- is that, dude?
Seriously, what is it with you people? Don't you sleep? Really? I mean, what are you doing awake at this time of the morning? I thought I'm the only idiot that gets out of bed at Sparrowfart. And in fact, I've been out of bed for nearly 2 hours. There is a reason for that, because I went to sleep last night, obviously, at the junction point of the show. Vince was talking to me an hour before the show and tried ringing me 3 times. I must have been just zonked. So my apologies. The old body is not used to working the way that it's being worked at the moment. Can I just tell you? It's a good thing. I'm losing a bit of weight, and I am really enjoying it. But, oh, God, come 6 o'clock at night, it is a bit of a struggle at the moment. So I apologize, folks, for being a bit all over the place with my show times. That's the entire reason behind it. I'm just wearing myself out during the day doing other bits and pieces. And by the time I get in here, I try not to have anything to eat before I do the show for a couple of reasons. But because I'm using a bit of energy, I'm actually quite hungry late afternoons. I'm finding that if I eat late afternoons before the show, I tend to fall asleep. So I won't be doing that anymore. My apologies. I'm sorry. Hello to Serena, who I met yesterday before I went to sleep. She was being shown around the property yesterday. Looks like she's coming out to join us. So Sienna, not Serena. I think it was Sienna. And looks like she's coming out to join us. So woohoo! There's still a couple of spots out here if you're interested. And we would love to have like-minded people out here. It is a beautiful part of the world. You'll never go short of firewood, I can tell you. I'll take you out today with me on the roundabout. Just having a bit of a look at the weather outside. We are expecting a bit of rain today, so I'm not sure what the day hold. I know that I'll be driving trucks, dumping dirt and cutting down. Well, I won't be cutting down trees. I'll be cutting wood up. So there you go. Exciting part of the day for you to come and visit with me. I know, but here's how it is. Aussie Sue, God love you. You are an earliest of the birds, and lovely to have you in. Scotty was first in the house. Macca followed him up. And Sandy, why aren't you out feeding donkeys, woman? Isn't it donkey feeding time? I suppose they just eat the grass, don't they? Anyway, lovely to have you and Baz up. I'm sure you haven't left him in bed. How are the QSI investments working out for me, old Sodded? I get the feeling you're trying to be a smart-ass, Sodded, are you? One, I've never invested anything in QSI, so I don't know what you think I'm into, but you're wrong. Secondly, as far as I'm aware, the QSI investments that you speak of are doing quite well, in that they are doing exactly what they are meant to do, and that isn't growing in value at the moment because there is nothing that's been put into them yet. If you're trying to be facetious and a smart ass, then you've missed it. You've just exposed your lack of understanding of how the QSI system works. Now, I'm not part of QSI. I've never been part of QSI, but I like and talk to a lot of people in QSI. And some people very close to me are very deeply into QSI, and good luck to them. And they've done the research. I haven't. And I guarantee you probably haven't. Oh, sod it. Now, research or training, whatever you want to call it. Some might call it brainwashing. I don't know that that's the case. I certainly know somebody who has been through it, is still going through it, has been going through it for some months and loves it, doesn't find it a brainwashing exercise in any way, shape or form. As far as I'm aware, the QFS hasn't happened yet. The quantum financial reset has not happened yet. We are, from all intents and purposes, I believe, on the cusp of it. And once that does happen, then, smart ass Osodit, if you would like to have a go at QSI, then by all means, if the liquidity does not flood into those investments, as you've put them, the liquidity that has been taught through QSI that will flow into these investments at the time of the quantum financial reset. Now, if that doesn't happen, then yes, I will have a lot of questions for people. And yes, there will be a lot of disappointed folks who have ploughed a lot of money into it. And yes, there might be avenues for investigation into illegalities if that happens. But right now, it hasn't happened. Right now, I have no reason to believe or disbelieve that it won't happen. I'm waiting and watching. And while somebody from QSI did, I'll just try and bring this up. Well, somebody from QSI, I think it was QSI Russia, nominally donated 100, I don't know, whatever's they were, to me to play with, to see how the system worked, kind of thing. So, and if you had been following, I don't know that I can show that. There you go. Now that is my Lobster wallet. Okay, and it's asking me for a security check. Now I know my password for this, but this doesn't accept it. One of the reasons that I have always been skeptical, not of QSI, but of any of this kind of digital bullshit technology, is the simple fact is I didn't change my password on this Lobster wallet. I haven't changed it, but it's changed, and I can't access the Lobster wallet. So last time I was able to access it, I want to say I can't remember exactly, but it was less than 300 XLM. I think that $100 had turned into. I had or 100 XLM had turned into about 300 XLM. So it wasn't anything huge, but I was interested in going through the process and seeing how it worked. And yes, I've had all the debunkers, the screamers, the criers saying, "Oh, they're ripping people off. They're ripping people off. They're ripping people off." I even went and had lunch with some bloke who, if you're into crypto, you're probably aware of him. He claimed he'd been ripped off to the $600,000+. I asked him to explain to me exactly how that was taken from him, and it turned out that it wasn't taken from him at all. He was trying to grift the system, shortchange the system. He took their tip outside of their environment, plowed his money into it, and lost. Well, that's not them ripping him off. That's him trying to rip them off and not understanding the system. I will make the offer again. Bring me a victim. One victim. Not someone who thinks they're a victim, but someone who is a provable victim, had something stolen from them, had something fraudulent done to them that enticed money from them into the pockets of the crook. Then I'm interested. But until such time as there is a victim, and I can't see that there will be on any mass scale until the quantum financial reset happens and the liquidity due to flood into those assets that are being presented through QSI doesn't happen, well, then yes, I'll have a lot of questions of Jane and Nick and others. But right now, I have no reason to suspect it won't happen. So good luck to most on it. You can be a smart ass about it all you like, but fact of the matter is, if you use a little bit of common sense and lateral thinking, there's no need to be scared. There's no need to waste your money. There's no need to lose your money. All you need to do is be a little bit patient, wait and watch. And if you want to risk it, if you want to try it, what's the harm? If you've got the money and you want to convert them into XLM, then go and do it. See what happens. Or XRP. They're saying XRP at the moment is about ready to be bought back. If you're holding XRP, my understanding is XRP will be like the behind-the-scenes international trading currency. So we, the people, will not use that on a daily basis. That will be used to transfer money overseas and do international banking transfers, all that sort of thing, will be done in XRP. And XLM will be the usable token. Does that make sense? If it makes sense to you, bloody great, because I can tell you it doesn't make a great deal of sense to me. Pissing down in your part of the world, is it, Sandy? Well, no wonder you're not out feeding the donkeys then, because where's the fun in going out in the pouring rain feeding the donkeys? Of course, you'd be getting some nice grass there at the moment, so you probably don't need to go out and feed them too hard. Sandy, of course, is still on the hunt for a horse float, folks, although less horse, more donkey. And if you would like to help our GoFundMe, Sandy's GoFundMe is available, and I didn't bring the link up again. I've got to get it permanently put up in here, Sandy. If you can find your link, can you post it in the chat for me? I would love that. All right, what else is going on today? Agate Master, nice to see you in. And Sandra, I don't think I'd say. Oh, Sandra, you beat me. You've been up since 3. No, I would have to have a very, very nasty accident in my pants to be out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think. But, well, who knows? I suppose you go to bed early enough. And yesterday I seemed to go to sleep about 5 o'clock, and I don't think I barely remember getting up and going to bed. So, yeah, it was a late night. No fun, no fun, no fun. Still waiting for rain in Howard, Jody. Oh, well, give it time. It's for those folks who don't know where Howard is. Howard is up near Harvey Bay. Beautiful, beautiful part of the world. And I'm assuming that's the Howard that you're at, Jody. Beautiful part of the world. Say hello to Torben Lee and the BP for me. I've spent many, many, many hours in and around the Torben Lee BP while I was doing COVID transfers for the marine industry back during the COVID drama days. So, yeah, thank you for noticing I've had a haircut. In fact, Sienna noticed first thing yesterday when she bailed out of the car to say hello. She, oh, you've had a haircut since last night. Well, yeah, that's one of the things I did get achieved yesterday. I bailed out yesterday morning, went and got a haircut in town, did a few other interesting little bits and pieces. Met a man, had a very interesting conversation about electronics and the way of the future. And how much of that can I tell you? We had a very long conversation about drones and making drones and the use for these drones, the distance these drones might be able to fly, or in fact, might be able to fly themselves using an autopilot that's been pre-programmed. Very interesting conversation with a man who used to design missiles and defense systems. He certainly knows his shit. So going to be very interesting to see what develops out of that in coming days, weeks, and months. Amanda, the snake pit. I'm just a sucker for punishment. I got up and watched, I don't know how many I've watched, probably 4 or 5 different excerpts, if you like, from Senate estimates, which are on at the moment. Malcolm Roberts is trying to hold some of these people to account. So right now, you've got more snakes than usual in the snake pit, I would say, because you've got every bureaucrat who will be asked a question, all fronting up in town. And of course, the restaurants in Canberra will be abuzz with these people as they collate their answers and try and protect their asses, because that's what these people do. In the last 2 days, I've watched maybe 20 different estimates sessions. What I am finding increasingly in our government and public service is, and this is probably going to sound terribly bad, and I'm not meaning if I say it the wrong way, well, I guess I'll just wear the shit. I'm noticing who is being brought before Senate estimates. Who are the people in charge and are answering these questions, or are fobbing the answers off to their underthings that are surrounding them at the table. Now, I've also gone back, because this isn't the first time I've noticed this, so I've gone back and I've looked at previous Senate estimate stuff too, not in the last 24 hours or so, but this is a few weeks ago I did this. Has anybody else noticed that when it comes to Senate estimates, 98% of the people standing or sitting in front of those senators asking the questions or meant to answer the questions are women. Their 2 ICs are women. Their 3 ICs are women. And there might be the odd man or two that wanders around in the department. When there is a man, the head of the department, he's gay. Almost consistently, 100%. Now, is it just me that notices, particularly for things like the NDIA and the NDIS, which Senator Roberts asked questions about last night, trying to get to the bottom of the fraud, the massive fraud that is being perpetrated against Australian taxpayers through the NDIA and the NDIS. And that is a huge, huge fraud that's being committed. Who's in charge? A lady. Reports to Bill Shorten, although not anymore because Bill's bailing. He's going off to become a university vice-chancellor. But this is Bill Shorten's baby, brought up under Julia Gillard, vomited up under Julia Gillard, and has been a money pit for unscrupulous people ever since. Thankfully, they are starting to crack down. It's taken 11 years for them to start to crack down. Not just the NDIS. Every session that I watched had a woman ass-guarding her department at the top. They didn't have very many answers, take a lot of things on notice. And the men all seem to be gay. Now, I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just wondering, why is it so consistent? Why are all the department heads females? Well, I'm generalizing, but the majority. Why are they females? Why are their 2 ICs females? Their support things are all female, and they'll bring in the odd man to report on this, that, or the other. What I find is that someone like the Ombudsman, who was telecommunications Ombudsman, I think it was, that was in front of Senate estimates yesterday, surrounded by other women, she couldn't answer a question. When she did, it was all government speak, bureaucratic speak, bullshit, but was surrounded by other females who also couldn't answer the questions, would take a lot on notice. This seems to be a way that they hide either their embarrassment of not knowing the answer to the question, or they don't want to tell the answer and they want to go away and have a think about it, put it down in words that can be maybe seen or read and interpreted in a couple of different ways so that they're not being nailed down. In fact, one of the most interesting questions that I saw Senator Robert ask in estimates was, have you seen or used or been educated by a handbook that's apparently going around the bureaucracies and the departments about how to avoid answering senators' questions in estimates by still answering them, but not saying anything? Now, of course, most of the people who were sitting in those estimates were too smart to admit that they'd read that book or been trained on that book. However, all used exactly all of the details outlined in the book to obfuscate and bullshit and not say anything. So keep an eye out. They are playing some interesting games at the moment in Canberra, and estimates is well, I find estimates a nice place to try and make people squirm. It used to be. It's not so much anymore because these bureaucrats know they're protected. They know that Senator Roberts and others, Canavan and others, can ask very difficult questions and that they'll be able to get out of it. They'll be able to bleat their way out of it. And in spite of what Senator Roberts said when we spoke last week, that there are repercussions if you treat the Senate like that, nobody seems to ever wear those repercussions, ever. So I do hope that, for what it's worth, in the in that place that that Senator Roberts and others can start getting a few answers, because the people aren't likely to get them in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, Jody, that's my problem too. I'll take that on notice. And look, I understand you can't know everything, but I get the feeling when a pointed question is asked and the bureaucrat in question does know the answer, they just don't want to tell it. They'll take it on notice and are allowed to. They can claim, oh, I don't have good knowledge of that, need to go away and have a think about it or research it. They'll go away and then they'll write that reply and send it through, which obviously Senator Roberts was chasing up on last night. So he was chasing up on some of their previous we'll get back to you answers, and more particularly questions. So, yeah. Black Sheep's up and around this morning. I want to, I meant to do this the other night, and I would have done it last night had I been awake. But Black Sheep's auntie passed away the other day, and they laid her to rest, I think, the day before yesterday. Now, Black Sheep's auntie was a moderately famous lady in Tasmania, and her name was Mary, and they did an ABC, oh, I beg your pardon, it wasn't an ABC documentary at all. It was a documentary on Tasmania's first immigrant centre that was built there. And Mary, Black Sheep's auntie here, I'm just trying to bring up the video so I can throw the link in. Right. There we go. Mary meets Mohammed. So she was Tasmania, and quite a lovely lady from all accounts. And she went into the detention centres and had this meeting with Mohammed. So quite an award-winning documentary, worthwhile having a bit of a look. And condolences to Black Sheep and the family on your loss. I hope you're all pulling through and taking it quite well. Jody, you'll take it on notice. Yeah, narcissistic women. Right. Why are narcissistic women in charge of everything? Or militantly gay men? And I do mean militantly gay. Why is it we've got women or homosexuals in charge of everything? Why is it the place is falling to shit? Is there a correlation between the two? I'm not completely sure. I'm sure there are very many capable women able to run great businesses, great bureaucracies, for the want of a better term. But we don't seem to be employing them. We're employing the sycophants, the ones with a twisted agenda, the ones that will always say yes to the wrong people. And we're working very hard to employ as many of the militant gay fraternity as we can. I don't know why, to balance up the books. I don't care whether you're gay. I care that you try and shove it down my throat, so to speak. I care that you feel you should be a little bit more special than anybody else, because you walk with a prance and speak with a lisp. Now, good luck to you if you want to walk with a prance and speak with a lisp. I couldn't care less. I can do it too. It's a fabulous thing. But it's just not me. But I know it's just so good for everybody else. There are those people who just embrace it and love it and just, effervescing, fizzing all over. Not me. I don't find that funny or enjoyable. And I certainly don't like that in a bureaucrat, in a powerful position. I don't like militant women in powerful position because they seem to take it out on men. And I've been on the brunt of that once or twice. Because I like to speak directly. I don't like to speak around circles and flowery bits. I tend to be pretty direct. And most men, you'll find, can handle being spoken to directly. I'm not talking about being rude, I'm speaking directly. No fuzzy words, right? Just words that mean things. Get the message across, get the action done. That doesn't happen. Women communicate very differently, very differently. Could this be part of the reason while we have bureaucracies falling down around our ears, while we have criminals rorting the system beyond all belief, because we have a bunch of women and gays running the joint who are more active in supporting their own position? Oh, you can't have a go at women running things, and you certainly can't have a go at gays running things. Well, I am, and I will. Prove me wrong. It's an observation. That's all. An observation. And sadly, many will say, you're just woman bashing. Well, I'm not. I'm observing the incompetence sitting at Senate estimates, answering questions. And I've been observing it for some years. Do yourself a favor. Go and have a look at the questioning of the CASA representatives, right? The Civil Aviation Authority. Go and have a look at that particular estimates meeting. Embarrassed. Worse than that. Criminal. Criminal. CASA is headed up by a bullshitting, lying female, supported by, I suspect, a medically coerced doctor. I don't know that that's quite the right word, because I think coercion means that you are pushing back against it, and I don't think she was. Watch how they answer the questions about the pilots who have been jabbed, and about the concerns for pilots who have been jabbed. And if you're getting on a plane today, probably don't watch it before you get on the plane, because you might view getting on planes a lot differently. So many are having medical problems. How are CASA getting around pilots having medical problems? Well, they're not having them in the air. They're having them at home. Oh, you just had a heart attack at home. Oh, you just discovered myocarditis. Oh, no, there's no link to that and the spicy dart. Oh, well, okay, there is a bit of a link, but he could have had it before then. People get that all the time, and yet you look at the numbers, the statistics are adding up and just growing all the time. And what's the indicator? What is it all pointing to? It's all pointing to the squirty thing. But for whatever reason, well, we know the reason. The reason they aren't telling us the truth is, to tell us the truth would mean many people are going to go to jail and should probably be put to death. Many people have committed treason. Many people have committed medical malpractice. Many people have committed coercion crimes. So there's a lot of arse guarding going on, and it has to stop. The only thing I'm encouraged about seeing so many incompetent women in the bureaucracy and gays is that they're not very good at hiding shit. We find it. And when we find it all, we will hang them out for it. They have to be made examples of, so that this can never happen again. I don't know, after going to all that trouble of trying to find Mary and Muhammad on YouTube for the link that I posted it. So there's the link to the documentary put up by Black Sheep's auntie, who passed away recently. Here's a couple of little things that I've picked up over the last few days that I haven't been able to show you yet. The Red Cross says that you can't donate blood plasma if you've had the jab because the vaccine wipes out the body's natural antibodies. Now, that same news has happened here. I know a number of people who prior to the jab were going on a very regular basis to donate blood. And God love them, a great thing to be doing. However, not so much anymore. Now their blood is no longer required. Have any of these people woken up as to why? Well, some probably have, but unfortunately the ones that I know, they're either too scared to acknowledge the realization of what has happened and therefore are just being ostriches, head in the sand, la, 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 waiting for it to all go away. Many others are embarrassed that they've been taken in by this fraud and that maybe they didn't pass the IQ test. IQ test. I don't care how many degrees you've got. If you went and got jabbed, you didn't pass that IQ test. And I know that upsets many people who've had considerable education and have considerable letters after their names and degrees hanging on walls. I don't care. I really don't care how smart you think you are. You missed the biggest IQ test in the history of the world. And you just nodded your head and complied. That isn't a sign of intelligence. That's a sign of submission. So make that what you will out of it. And if you don't like me, always email me, carl@vofhq.com, and I can write it out for you so that you can probably understand it. I know you academics prefer things in writing. You won't like the way I put it, but maybe it'll sink in. Maybe it won't. Do we really care? None of you are getting up and doing anything to support us, so do we really care what happens to you? Unfortunately, most of us do, because we care about our fellow man and woman. We care. We talk about this continually because we care. Not because we want to be a thorn in your side. Not because we want to keep pricking that little point in you that says, ha ha, ha ha, you were stupid, we weren't. It's got nothing to do with that. We warned you, we tried to help you. Now we are here to help because you will have answers. Well, you will have questions. You will want answers. Hopefully, we will be able to give some of those answers to you, maybe not all. Hopefully, then you'll see where we've been coming from for the last 4 years. Hopefully, you'll moderate your thoughts on the radicalization of the people who refuse the jab. We are not radicals. We are clear thinkers, logical thinkers. And when something doesn't add up, we don't go against all indications and do it anyway. Now, I'm sorry, the vast majority of the population isn't like that. I really am sorry for that. But I can't fix it. All you can do is try and wake those up around you a little bit more. And I hope that we can do that. Maybe this will help you. Here's a great example of what our current government has to do because of what our current government did to us, the people, some years ago. Seen an influx of international police arriving on their doors. Now, these are people who've decided they want to come to Australia. Oh, I can be a policeman in Australia. Goodness gracious me, that would be great. But. They come, they do the training, and then they get sent out on a job. Now, I'm going to focus particularly on Indians, but the same could probably be said for just about any other form of immigrant. But I particularly like Indians. When I was at school, I had two Indian teachers, Mr. and Mrs. Samuels, lovely people. Mrs. Samuels was always in a sari. Mr. Samuels always in a suit. One of the funniest things about this was their understanding of swearing in English. We could swear at those two people and say the most foul things, and using language that would be more befitting a trucker than anything else, and not get into any trouble at all. And I mean, you could use the C word, you could, swear solidly for 5 minutes at them, and they'd smile and nod their heads and say, okay, well, that's very good. Now go back and sit down and do your work. But if you said bloody, oh, I don't want to do that, miss, it's bloody stupid, then she would come and grab your ears and nearly tear them off your head and scream at you for swearing and carrying on and being awful. And you could go and get, I think we talked about Roger the fan belt. You go and get 6 on the arse with Roger the fan belt, all for saying bloody. But you could call her the most vile names and she didn't understand them. Now, we thought at the time it was quite funny. The fact of the matter was, it's the same would be happening in any country. Would happen to me if I went to Germany or somewhere I didn't speak the language, and interpreting particularly Australian vernacular is very difficult. German might be a bit easier. Well, we're now employing Indian police by the sound of it. And unfortunately, the grasp on language hasn't quite gone the way they planned.
Good lad.
Yeah, go for it. Fuck it. Yeah.
Good lad.
Now it's your duty to tell us your name and where you from.
It's my duty.
Yeah. Yeah?
I'm not a police officer.
Right, well, you can't serve it on him if this person won't identify themselves. We won't serve it on him. We'll come back another time and try and serve it. That's fine. They're not going to know their conditions or what they must serve. Let's go.
That's quite rude, sir. Right? Hey, fuck you. Okay?
Sorry?
Show me the finger. You
Sorry?
show me the finger. Fuck you.
Good lad.
Yeah, go for it. Fuck it. Yeah.
Good lad. Good lad. You're on camera there, you're on camera there, and you're on camera there. Good lad, that's professional.
You've been really good. To
Very professional.
That's the quality of copper the Australian police forces are now putting in uniform. Oh, God. Are there any actual real police officers in the police force still? Are there officers who know that shit like that just can't go on? This is beyond pathetic. And I understand the police forces have to recruit because you can't get an Australian to join you after what you did. You corrupt, corporate-run motherfuckers. Now, I have no doubt there are good ones amongst you somewhere, but the good ones amongst you are not standing up. The good ones amongst you are not arresting the senior officers giving those unlawful orders. You could, you could stand up and do that. You could represent the friggin' people instead of guarding your own ass. These days, joining the police force isn't like what it used to be 20 or 30 years ago. 20 or 30 years ago, it used to be an honourable career choice. And you did go into the community to, for the want of a better term, protect and serve. Not anymore. Police do not protect and serve anymore. Police harass. Police issue fines. They are revenue generators. That is all they are. Yes, okay, they have their uses when you're in trouble and, you know, you need police help. Well, there is no help. If the police suspect you of something, do not expect fair treatment. In fact, in Queensland, you can expect to be flogged on the street if you're playing up in Surfers Paradise by the coppers. Why would anybody want to be a policeman today? Why would you go and subject yourself to the bullying and the bullshit that comes from the bureaucratic assholes at the top of the chain? The political police, because that's what they are. They are not general duties coppers. They're not detectives. They're not even fucking smart. They're political animals who fought their way to the top of their political tree. I would use former Queensland Police Commissioner Carroll and the current New South Wales Police Commissioners, who's another female, as classic examples of that. More females running departments that are falling to shit. Am I the only one that notices this? All these big infrastructure organisations are run by women are falling to shit. Now, I don't know why that is. Maybe it's not their fault. Maybe it's, the fault of the gay blokes who are behind them, second string, pushing behind. You know where I was going with that joke. It's bloody ridiculous. I'm sure these women can do the right thing. I want to know why they choose not to. I want to know why they seem to think that it is okay to have these lines of division. I want to see, out of estimates, these women stop obfuscating their answers. I want them to take charge of the portfolios they've been given and know the answers to the questions they've been asked. I'm not saying the blokes would be any better. We would expect the same from men. But what we have at the moment seems to be a cohort of female management backed up by gay supporters, or if the blokes are lucky enough to get a go in management, they'll be the gay blokes in management, lisping their way through the problems, making sure everybody feels okay while getting themselves ready for Mardi Gras. Am I the only one noticing this? Does that make me a bad person? Maybe it does. I'm sorry if that's the case. I'm not slagging off at the women. I'm not slagging off at the gays. I'm just wondering how much longer we have to suffer their incompetence before it changes. How much longer do we have to suffer the incompetence? I don't understand. And I see many of you don't either. So I'm a bit heartened by that. Thank you. Because I thought long and hard about talking about this, because I don't want to come off as a woman basher, or somebody who thinks that the women aren't capable of rising to the top of business. That's bullshit. I believe that is bullshit. Of course, women can rise to the top of business. Of course, they can be great business people. They can be great managers, everything. Just not the ones in the public fucking service. All of them seem to be on a different fucking planet. All right? I wonder how many of them are lesbians, given that we've got so many gays backing them up. I'm not trying to be funny or facetious with that question. I wonder how many of them are. because you couldn't get through all of this trans crap without that sort of help, could you? There's a lot more in there than I probably would have thought. Frightening that we've let it go that way, don't you think? I certainly believe it to be frightening. All right, I know it's getting on towards 7 o'clock. So I didn't want to do a very long one today, or right now. I sort of wanted to make up for last night a bit. So that's why I've done this morning. I will be back on this evening and hopefully have a bit more to talk about on a few other of these efforts that Senator Roberts is making in estimates today. Hopefully we'll see some good news coming from there. Speak briefly about the Donald Trump, Kamala Harris debate, if you want to call it that, yesterday. I'm not completely sure that I would call it a debate as such. I don't think that Trump performed extremely well. I think he was angry that the moderators were very biased. They gave Harris a huge leg up. But in watching Harris perform, I had to say I was surprised at how coherent she was and how fast she was able to answer so many questions that I didn't think she would be over in too many ways at all. Well, it turns out she was wearing a really nice set of earphones. See that? That's an audio earring, a clip-on pearl earring that doubles as a set of headphones. So every opportunity to be getting her answers whispered in her ear, quite literally. Joe Biden during 2020, you might remember, wore a contact lens that had the answers to questions come up on the inside of it. Supposedly, I don't know how his brain at that time would have been able to focus on it, but anyway, that's the story from way back when. We spoke about the cops, but here's Victorian police. You stupid bastards. That's all I have to say. Underpaid, are you? Were you underpaid when you started firing on the Victorian people with rubber bullets? Were you underpaid when you started spraying them with pepper spray? Were you underpaid when you started bashing them on the streets? Fuck off. Underpaid. Fuck off. Lucky you don't get bashed on the streets every time you go out. The Victorian police have marked themselves as the most filthy organisation in this country. The most filthy and corrupted police organisation in this country. They may not be the most corrupted and filthy in this country, but they're the ones that have exposed themselves. Victorian police pay rise. You should be on your knees begging for forgiveness. You should be arresting your upper leadership for the decisions they made, the danger they put you in, and the danger they've put us in. Victorian police pay rise. Fuck off. You are a pathetic bunch of bastards who are too stupid to see truth and too weak to do anything about it when you do see the truth. But you'll come and hassle the people. You'll come and hound them. Fuck off with your pay rise. Get on your knees and beg for forgiveness. En masse. That's when the Victorian police force might be able to start making inroads back into their community and gain some respect. Because right now, the Victorian police force is not seen as a police force by Victorians, by the bulk of them. They are seen as a paramilitary outfit that works for a government that is dubiously installed. So if you know a young Victorian copper, give them 2 bits of advice from me. Get the fuck out now. Be a human being Or if you aren't going to be a human being, then try and be a man or a woman when you get in there and arrest the bastards at the top who started this, who enforced this madness and made you enforce it. It's your respect that has dropped. It is you that the people on the street look at in fear and division these days, not with respect and admiration. Never a truer word, and I used to hate this word, but pigs is what Victorian police are and have proved themselves to be. They will lie in the shit and love it, and they will bring you into it as fast as they can. Gutless pigs who want a pay rise, and they'll get it. They'll get it. Because the stupid people of Victoria are unable to get rid of corrupt governments. I'm not saying the stupid people of Victoria, I'm not saying all people in Victoria are stupid, but there are so many stupid people welded on voters. And I think a bit of corruption through the unions. We might see a change next time round now the CFMEU's had its nuts kicked through its nostrils, but I don't think that's going to last very long either. Victorian police, you are a disgrace. You are the leading disgrace of the nation, but not by far. New South Wales, Queensland, South Australian and Western Australian police all run very close to you. You're leading by example. They all aspire to be like you. How proud you must be. You sick fucks. So, yeah, good luck getting your pay rise, bastards. You will get it. That's just the sad part. I've got a couple of other things there, but I might leave that for tonight's show, folks, and I'll let you go off and get into your day. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get a bit vehement about the Victorian police, but I feel quite strongly about the fact that, I mean, they must have balls the size of mountains to be asking for a friggin' pay rise after what they have done to the Australian people. Unfortunately, they're not asking the Australian or the Victorian people for the pay rise. They're asking the corrupt government for it, and they'll probably get it. Because the corrupt government cannot go on being corrupt if they don't keep their enforcement arm happy. What would happen if they didn't get the pay rise? Do you think the cops would start putting a bit more pressure on those that weren't helping them, like the politicians? I hope that would be the case, but unfortunately not. They're all brainwashed morons. They're there to exercise their authority over you. They're all little cartmans. So, if you've got a kid that wants to aspire to be a police officer, take a long, hard look at what sort of personality they've got. Because if they've got a personality that wants to go out and help people, do not let them become a police officer. You're going to invite a world of psychological hurt and probably a shot in the middle of the night somewhere that ends it. To be a policeman these days, you've got to be an uncaring bastard. You have to have no empathy. And if you have any going in, you'll certainly have none by the time you've qualified. And because most Australians have woken up to that fact and refused to go and line up to be indoctrinated into that kind of bullshit, now we've got Gupta and his mates coming over from India who'll get very upset because you give them the finger. Fuck you. Yeah, well, fuck you, Mohammed.
Do something.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!